This episode of The Apartment Guys is being brought to you by Greenlight Equity Group. Greenlight Equity Group acquires and operates cash-flowing multifamily assets in progressive metropolitan markets such as Salt Lake City, Idaho, San Antonio, Oklahoma City, and Columbus, Ohio. Greenlight targets consistent, solid returns for its investors and a healthy environment for residents by operating high-quality, safe, clean, affordable apartment communities. To learn more about Greenlight and to sign up for the investor list, go to www.glequitygroup.com.
Welcome to The Apartment Guys, where we dive deep into all things multifamily investing. Our mission is to educate, inspire, and empower real estate investors to reach their highest potential. Each week, host Tate Seamer interviews high-level guests from all over the industry who are sure to bring valuable, actionable ideas that will propel your career to the next level. Whether you're just starting out or a seasoned investor, you are in the right place. And now your host, the apartment guy, Tate Seamer.
Welcome, everybody, back to another episode of the Apartment Guys podcast, coming at you today with a special dude in the house. Mr. Jack Aduwo himself is here. Jack is an awesome guy and has an awesome story. He is partying right now in his life because he just retired from his W-2 job in corporate world and doing IT and computer science in the corporate world for a number of decades now. And he's managed to replace that income in his job with full-time real estate investing in multifamily apartments. And it is an awesome story, super inspiring. One of the things that I love about Jack is how giving he is and how service-oriented he is. He says, give an abundance and you'll get an abundance. And I think that's just kind of a fundamental law of the universe, really. So if you like this episode, and hope you do, please leave a rating and a review at the podcast hosting platform that you're listening on, either Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Play, etc. It helps me so much get the message out of financial independence, retiring early, right? The FIRE lifestyle. That's what we talk about here. So without further ado, going to jump right into it with Mr. Jack Aduwo. All right, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Apartment Guys podcast. Today, we're once again the Apartment Guys. Last episode, we were the Apartment Guy and Gal. And today, we're back to just the buds hanging out. I've got Mr. Jack Aduwo in the house with me today to talk multifamily real estate. I've been wanting to have Jack on the show now for a long time. Jack is, he's been here in Salt Lake City for quite a while, but just recently moved to Boise. We'll talk a little bit more about that. But Jack is a principal in Kendu Bay Properties, which you can find at KENDU Bay, B-A-Y, properties.com, kendubayproperties.com. They have a great mission. Their first commitment is to improve lives by providing better homes and communities. And their second commitment is to provide solid returns to our investors so we can continue to execute and expand commitment number one, which is a beautiful thing. So the mission statement is, the different parts of the mission statement serve each other, and some nice symbiosis there. Jack is an accredited, experienced real estate investor. He's been doing real estate investments for over 10 years. He's having done several investments as a general partner and as a limited partner as well. Also has some single family. Went to school in California for computer science, and is married with 3 kids. Just moved to Boise, beautiful Boise, Idaho. And has a wonderful landmark in life coming up just next week. He is retiring from his W-2 job in the corporate world, and it will be focusing on real estate full time. So with that, Jack, I want to say, first of all, congratulations on that amazing achievement. And
Thank you.
thank you so much for sharing a little time with us here today.
Yes, I'm very excited. Also, thank you so much for the opportunity to come and chat with you about real estate. I love to talk about real estate. I think it has done a lot of great things in my life, and I'm always excited to talk about it. It's one thing that fires me up. Everybody has something that fires them up, and I think real estate is definitely one of those things that fire me up. And as you indicated, because of real estate, I'm finally, retiring from my W-2 job as of next week, January 20. It's been about 15 years in the corporate world, so it's good to finally move on and do, what I really enjoy the most. I mean, I love my job, I love my employer, and I love what I was doing, and that's part of the reason why it took me forever to decide. I was ready like 2 years ago, but sometimes when you enjoy your job and you also have a good employer, it might take a little longer to quit. But I think I reached a point whereby I'm ready to just go enjoy life a little.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, isn't that wonderful that you're able to do that, and that this multifamily venture has afforded that opportunity?
Oh, no doubt. Yeah. No doubt. Mm-hmm.
It's a wonderful thing.
Yeah.
Well, once again, congratulations, and thanks for the inspiration. I know the listeners are inspired by that, and we're looking forward to talking with you and learning a little bit more how you've gotten to where you've gotten and how you've gained your success. So before we kind of dive into the nuts and bolts in real estate, give us a little more, a little back look into Jack Aduwo. And you're originally from Kenya. You've been here in the States for roughly 20 years. And you have so many different interests in life, from skiing to all things outdoors, travel, cooking.
Kind of jack of all trades, right?
You're jack of all trades. That's right. Yeah. So, tell us a little bit about maybe, your childhood, what kind of shaped you and made you who you are today. Yeah.
So born and raised in Kenya. I came here to go to college in 2001. Actually, in July, it's going to be exactly 20 years. And, growing up in Kenya, of course, my dad passed away when I was young, very young, so kind of raised by a single mom, and just a nice community, supportive community. I grew up in a village, and so pretty much surrounded by a lot of cousins and nephews, cousins and uncles and aunties and everybody. And, everybody basically take care of each other, so to speak, And, opportunity came to go to college in the U.S., so I jumped on the opportunity. Like a lot of migrants, this nation is a nation of migrants, and, a lot of migrants always come to pursue the American dream. So I'm pretty much following that same path. Came, not with a lot of money, but one thing I had was the dream and the drive to succeed. And so from day one, when I landed, worked in college, went to college, studied hard, got my bachelor in computer science with minor in math. I was originally actually a math major, but I switched to computer science, when I did a little bit of programming, and also found out that you don't make much money out of math anymore. They're just limited opportunities because of the, everything has become so computerized, and of course, with IT, it's definitely the place to go. I graduated actually in 2008, and so it's the middle of the financial crisis. And as soon as I graduated, I got a job offered by HP. They offered me a job for entry level, in 2008. Before that, I was also doing IT support work while going to college. But anyway, so right out of college, I got a job offer with HP. It was for a position located in Idaho. And so our plan was, me and my wife were engaged at that time. So we kind of had to get married right away because I was going to be moving to Idaho. And so we got married right away. We both moved to Idaho same year. And I credit my real estate success to Idaho because it was basically even playing field, because I couldn't afford a house in LA. I was living in a studio with a roommate, actually a 2-bedroom with a roommate. Initially it was a studio. The studio was like $900 for just a little tiny studio. Then I upgraded to a 2-bedroom. And then I remember us moving to Idaho. We got a bigger 2-bedroom apartment for half the price. And with the job offer, I had a little bit of pay raise increase. It was still an entry level, college entry level, but better than what I was getting when I was going to college. And we lived in the apartment for a couple months and looking for our own house to live in. Our plan was just to buy our own house. We bought a house. We put offers on several houses, and we lost most of them because we was being outbidded, or we just didn't feel like we want to pay that price. And we finally found a house we liked. We put an offer on it. They said no. They declined. A few months later, we found another house, which we ended up buying. But after we bought that house, the previous house that declined our offer came back on market for even significantly cheaper. And, with me being me, always looking for business opportunity and ways to generate revenue, I talked to my wife. We're like, hey, what if we just buy that and rent it? And so we put an offer on it. It was a short sale. It took a little longer for the short sale to be approved, but it got approved. And that house turned out already had a tenant. It was about 5 years old. It had a tenant on it paying $900. Our mortgage day one was about $500. So wait a minute. We just bought a brand new house, a tenant already inside the house, and we net profiting $400. It was quite an eye opener for me, Yeah. After that, I went on a buying spree, basically, saving everything I can. We were living basically a very frugal life, and basically every quarter we'll buy a house. Of course, we went until we reached our 10 houses, and then when you get to 11 houses, we could not get any good loan. Then after that is when I switched to multifamily. Took about 2 years of looking for multifamily deals, but I finally got my traction, and I've been running with it since then.
So it's
that's
pretty
kind of a bird's eye view of my my life.
Yeah, I love it.
Go ahead.
I love it. Thank you so much. So,
Mm-hmm.
so the real estate journey for you was pretty organic, really. I mean, you were looking for a place to live, and you came across this property that you could get in a short sale, get a really good deal, get a very low mortgage on, and positive cash flow. And
no doubt. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And
was that, shocking.
Would you say that was like, you kind of like eye-opening, kind of the light bulb went off sort of moment for you with real estate?
Oh yeah, no doubt. By every definition it was. I mean, it was just shocking, The property was a nice area, clean area, and most of the Boise Metro, for the most part, is safe and clean and everything,
Yeah, sure.
Find there's some parts of Boise that they consider not safe, which if you compare to where I lived in LA, those would be considered safer area by LA standards. So anyway, so this house was nice area, good clean area, accessibility and everything. But what was shocking was all I had to do, I think it was $16,000. That was my down payment because I had to do like 20% down, and to be getting $400 net, profit every month was like, and I didn't have to do anything. All of a sudden now the check just started coming to me. It was so easy. I had not even I had zero experience with property management or anything. The day we closed, I walk into the property and just tell the tenant, here, I'm the new owner of the property, so please start paying me from now onwards. That's all. There was not even it's funny, I ever made a mistake, which one of those big mistakes. I did not feel comfortable asking for their Social Security because, from what I heard, it was like, hey, in case they don't want to pay you, in case they damage, you have some that you can use to track them. So I went and asked for their Social Security and also gave mine because I didn't want them to feel like, hey, I'm just getting your Social Security without giving mine. I want them to feel comfortable. That's how inexperienced I was. Of course, everybody got to learn one way or the other, but it was a true eye opener for me.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I think most of us in real estate investing have had or can point back to a moment where they kind of saw the light. I know for me it was when I say saw the light, it's like what's possible inside of real estate becomes evident to you. For me, it was a moment where I was at a friend's house and his roommate had just partnered up with another guy and bought a triplex here in Sugar House in Salt Lake City, nice part of Salt Lake City. And, and I'm like, you can do that? Like, I didn't know you could do that. I mean, this was I think this was 06. So I went to this, he's like, I'm like, how'd you learn to do that? And he said, well, been going to this class every week down in Provo. And so I started going with him to a very basic how to flip real estate sort of class. But we learned about cap rates and NOIs and all that good stuff and kind of got my foundation there. But I had a number of points along the way and the next one I want to ask you about is the moment where you kind of saw the multifamily magic. But for me, it wasn't until much, much later in my career that multifamily thing really like lit me up. And I went from going, you mean you can do that really to, wow, like this is doable and it's super exciting and it's a team sport and I'm good at playing team games. So let's do this kind of thing. So, so for you basically maxed out what you could do with single family in terms of like getting conventional loans. And you got 10 properties.
Yeah. Cause at that time, so there's always that kind of tier. Maybe things have changed since then, but I'm seeing the restrictions are still there. So, when you get your primary residence, you get the best government loan, right? And then when you get the investment, you have to 4 units. This, years ago, that you get good deal, like for example, 20% down, and then the next from 5 to like 10, they're still government-backed loans, but you put like 25% down, but they're still government-backed loan, which means you're getting good loan and everything. And once you get above 10, then they're not government-backed anymore. So which means whoever is giving a loan is in their own portfolio, is in their own books. And I remember finding a really nice property, I think like my 12th property or something. I found a little loophole with Mountain America. They were giving good deals. I was able to get to 11, but then, I was looking beyond that. And I remember finding a good deal and looking for a land. I remember talking to this lender. They were going to give me portfolio loan, but their requirement was that I have to have cash reserve to pay mortgage for all my houses for 12 months straight. Basically, they were assuming that all my houses can be empty for 12 months straight with none of them paying. And then in addition to that, they were asking, I think, for 30 or 35% down payment. And of course, the interest rate was significantly high. I think there was 200 basis points above what was going on at that time. So they basically killed the deal. So basically, at the end of the day, after 10 houses, I got 4 stars of single family. And I did not know, this was one of those things, I was doing everything on my own, right? Single family could be a solo thing, it's not a lot of team sport in single family.
Right.
And I was basically solo at that time. And I did not know any other financing strategy. And let's face it, this is back in Boise. So when you go to bigger cities, there's a lot of resources and a lot of groups you can go and learn about different structuring. But in this case, small town, I did not know any meetup or any group that I can go to that I can learn different financing. I probably could end up buying more, but I just did not know any. So when I figured out I could not get any, I just started looking into other things. So the next thing was, for example, try to get an apartment that I can partner up with a few other people, buy something big. My first process was, look for something in Idaho and Utah, because by the time I was looking into multifamily, I already moved to Utah. And so I looked, I couldn't find any property. I guess I was also spoiled by the returns I was getting in single family. So I'm like, that fourplex, I tried to buy a fourplex and the returns were just so low. I'm like, I can buy a single family for the same price and get way better returns. Why should I buy a fourplex? But I'm not thinking about other things you can do with an apartment that you cannot do with a single family. But anyway, I kept looking and I could not find anything that would work. And then, I just keep increasing. And then I started doing more online research. I remember one of my partners that, I was going to joint venture with mentioned about syndication. And I never heard about that. He heard about it from, I think Michael Blanc, that he had it from. And so it's a new concept for me. And I was like, let me start Googling this. So I Googled about it. It was kind of a little bit not clear. And, I remember listening to the real estate guys, the podcast. And I remember them talking about it. And they talk about this program called Secret Sauce Syndication. I tried to go to that. It was just a little too pricey for me at that time. But basically, I started doing more research. And then I found about, learn about syndication and all the stuff you can do with multifamily that you cannot do anywhere else. I remember listening to one of Michael Blanc's recording. He was interviewing somebody and they were just comparing between single family and multifamily. Here's what you can do with single family. Here's what you can do with multifamily. And it's just an eye opener, like, wow, holy smoke. You can get all this with multifamily. And basically after that, it was basically 100% focused, on multifamily.
Yeah. And I mean, the space is so amazing. The opportunity is so amazing. The asset class, whatever you want to call it. And so when you do finally take a good solid look at it through listening to a podcast like Michael Blanc's or a real good audio book, like Lance Edwards or Joe Fairless, somebody like that, man, it really will change your mindset around what is possible. I mean, I was thinking about,
no doubt.
For me, like one of the key moments for me was going to my first multifamily conference and seeing.
Which one was that?
That was Adam Adams' Finding Deals Summit in April of 2019. Was my first multifamily summit. And it really was the beginning of my full scale, larger apartment complex journey. Up till then, we had done some smaller stuff and that sort of thing, a 12 unit, duplexes, fourplexes, lots of single family, but didn't ever connect with how it would be even in the ballpark a possibility to be a apartment building owner. Like, how do you go about doing that? That sounds like somebody that's got a lot more zeros in their bank account than I do. And, and yet it's kind of like so many other things, a little bit of knowledge demystifies a whole lot, and knowing how the game really works and how apartment buildings do get bought and sold and acquired and cash flowed and made profitable. You really get a feel for and get your head around that, like, this is doable. This isn't as daunting as it may have felt before. And so, and the other thing that occurred to me was you became a multifamily investor long before you bought your first multifamily property, and from the standpoint of you started doing the things that a multifamily investor does. You started listening to the podcast and learning the specialized knowledge that there is to learn, and getting the mindset. So you by voting, by your actions, you started training your subconscious, hey, I'm a multifamily investor because I'm doing the things that a multifamily investor does. And so whether that's the books, the YouTube videos, the conferences, the meetup groups, the podcasts, like those are the things that high level multifamily investors do and learn from and contribute to and are a part of. So
absolutely.
Like, yeah. So I love the mindset conversation because it really dictates what you're going to be able to accomplish ultimately.
No doubt. It's a matter of just putting yourself in an environment whereby, everybody's motivated, everybody's fired up, everybody's trying to do the same thing you do, and you'd be surprised how much you can, achieve. I tell you, the year 2019, every single month, I attended some kind of conference or some kind of networking, every single month. The same thing up in 2018, kind of half of 2018, but 2019, the same. I was going to do the same thing in 2020. As a matter of fact, in 2020, I attended a Road Cliff event in January 2020. I attended a Hunter Thompson event 2020 and a Samrock event in 2020 before everything shut down.
Yeah.
I mean, I was basically going to be going to pretty much as many as I can, and that's because I give a lot of credit to my success to those events, all my deals, all my deals are 506B, right? So which means I have to have an existing relationship with the investor. All my investors, not all, but most of my investors are met through those events. But even more important are my partners. All my partners are met through those events. You mentioned about, Brian Adams, right? Raising Money Summit in Denver in April. I went to the next one, which was in October 2019.
Yep.
Same one in Denver.
Yep.
And out of that, I met one of my partners, Keegan, and I met him through that event. We connected over the years, and now we're doing a deal together.
Yeah. That's great. Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that. Yeah. Those conferences are powerful. There's a reason why.
No doubt.
There's a reason why hundreds of people go and pay anywhere from $500 to $1,500, depending on if you get a VIP seat. And I cannot recommend them highly enough. And I recommend getting the VIP ticket if you can. Like, just throw your money down, invest in yourself a little bit, and treat yourself to the royal treatment, because when these guys put on events, they're really creating a ton of value. And when they're charging 3 times as much for a VIP ticket, they're going to hook you up. You're going to meet big players. You're going to get to sit in dinners with the biggest of apartment syndicators in the country, and you're going to get to learn from them. And like you did, Jack, meet partners, find partners there, find investors, money, etc. And in the meantime, you're going to learn from the highest level speakers and thought leaders. So hopefully those will, and these virtual conferences are fantastic too. However, they're not the same. They're not.
They're not. I got to tell you, I'm one of the people that are struggling with virtual conference. It's just very hard. I feel like, in other words, this last year since the pandemic started, I've attended very few because I just feel like, it's hard to connect, that idea of meeting somebody face to face, just talking to them versus, meeting on the conference for 15 minutes or 10 minutes. And initially, I don't feel like you don't get as much out of that connection versus if you just meet somebody. One of my favorite things to do whenever I go to conference, for example, is evening, going out for a beer or coffee, whatever it is, right? And one of my partners, I've done now 3 deals with her. I remember, last year, August, there was an event in Dallas. We attended the event, and, after the event, at the hotel, we both went, me and her and the husband, and a couple other friends went out for a drink at the bar, and we felt the connection. 2 months later, 3 months later, we're doing deals together, and we've now done 3 deals together. I just hope, one day virtual conference will be able to deliver the same, but I can't wait to get out.
Yeah.
I can't wait to start attending the events because I feel like, it just goes a long way.
Yeah. How many doors, those 3 deals that you did?
So we closed, this partner is Jennifer Joyce. I like to give credit to everybody, so if anybody knows her, high-end husband, John Joyce, absolutely amazing people. Really enjoy working with them. But anyway, the deal we've done is my deal we closed in March, Amarillo Square, 181 units. Then we did the Seabrook, which is 134 units in Seabrook, Texas. And then we did Live Oak, which is another 162. So let me see. About 500.
500, yeah.
Rounded up, yes.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's a partnership that formed at one of these conferences that anybody can go
one
to.
of these conferences. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and anyone can go to them. So when
sometimes people think like, oh, is it worth paying, airline ticket, and hotel and everything? All you need is just one partner, and it's going to completely pay off the entire thing.
Change your life, yeah.
It's going to completely change your life. Absolutely. I remember I met a partner. I also one of the events in Dallas, and we connected for about 3-4 months, and then I brought him to my Phoenix deal, and I brought him to my Amarillo deal. Also, he was a partner on my Amarillo deal, and he was also a partner on my Seabrook deal. And as you can tell, I enjoy working with people. So they always join me on the next investment opportunity. But on that trip, I remember debating, whether it was worth going to Dallas on that trip. And I'm glad I did it because, all it takes just one person to make a big difference.
Yeah, no doubt. So,
yes.
So let's get down to what you guys do at Kendu Bay. I knew you guys have about 1,000 doors in four different states right now. Tell us a little bit about Kendu Bay, your structure, your team members, and in particular your deals. Like what criteria do you guys like to look for?
Yeah, so Kendu Bay has progressed over the years, from just being a single family only company to now primarily focus on multifamily. I mean, I live in Boise, so if somebody were to bring me a good deal in Boise or Salt Lake, single family, I would consider it, but it's not like I'm going to go around looking for single family deals. So right now, Kendu Bay just focus on multifamily, with assets in both Arizona and, Texas, the multifamilies are, that is. The goal for this year, of course, last year my goal was to expand into the Florida market, and I was pretty confident I was going to be able to achieve that because early in the year I started pounding that market like no tomorrow, and I had several leads, but of course we had to press the brake because of the pandemic. Mm-hmm. The goal is therefore this year is to expand Kendu Bay property coverage to both Florida and Georgia. Those are the 2 markets I really, really want to get a footing in on this year. As far as team is concerned, so I have different teams. The good thing about, with multifamily is a true team sport, right? So depending with the deal, you bring different members of the team. I tend to use the same legal team just because, we work at the synergy. When I get a deal, they kind of know, we don't know how to operate. I use Duke & Kelly, which is very popular, syndication attorney, a lot of big names. I think Joe Fellas, for example, is using him, I think. but a lot of big names out there using him. My Texas property, I'm using Citygate. They've really done amazing job. I highly recommend them. They've consistently delivered for me.
Who is that? Who is that, Jack?
Citygate Property Management.
Okay.
Yes, they've done just a good job on my properties. Mm-hmm. I can talk about some of the examples if needed. I have my CPA that we use the same CPA, for all my assets, to send K1s and everything. The good thing about syndication that a lot of this, you basically outsource it, right? So it's not like I have to have my own internal CPA to do all my work, all my tasks right now. At least I'm still too small that I have to outsource it. So a lot of these tasks are outsourced, and of course, each deal I will always have, lead partners and co-sponsors that I bring on every deal to help me, run the asset so that, we can execute. I live in Idaho, so if a deal comes, and I always want somebody with easy access or quick access to it, to the deal itself, so that, they can be that kind of almost boots on the ground. It's not required because I know I have my property in Phoenix. We don't have boots on the ground in that deal, but we're still running it. So it's not required. It's a nice thing to have.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'm looking at your portfolio, and you've got a nice presence in Arizona, but your biggest presence is in Texas. So
yes,
you have boots on the ground partners in in the Texas markets, right?
Yes, in the market, yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and again, like just to emphasize the team sport aspect of this, guys, like whatever part you're missing, especially if you have a deal, like whatever part that you don't happen to have to make the deal happen, you can find in a partner. It's just a matter of being resourceful and networking and having good relationships intact and in place so that when a deal does come along, and finding deals is something you can learn to do. Like this is teachable, learnable stuff, and you can learn to do this and get right in. And Jack, you've been a great example of that. You find
finding deals. If I were to say anybody who's trying to get into this business, I think probably that's gotta be priority number one, because actually if you're trying to get into business for the long term, you gotta be able to find your own deals, right? Yeah. And starting to build a relationship with the brokers is extremely critical. I'll give you an example. All my deals I've done since beginning of last year, I've done 5 deals. All those 5 deals are off-market deals. Except one. One is not. But all the 4 are 5 deals, off-market deals.
Mm-hmm.
And, everything's becoming extremely attractive, competitive. You got to just try to, build a relationship with the broker so they can bring you the deals. Could be on-market, could be off-market. I like off-market, but, I've also done both on-market too. But anybody who want to get in on this, find deal is extremely critical. Because let's face it, you find the deal, there'll be other people, actually good deal with good numbers, there'll be people willing to join you to check the deal down, right? Because not everybody is finding a deal. So if you get something, hey, you bring it to the team and you check it down.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. It's all doable. It's a matter of, like I said, being resourceful and finding the right folks and ultimately having a good deal in hand. I mean, a lot of people don't like this necessarily, but I definitely subscribe to that. If you do have a good deal in hand, that you'll be able to find what it takes to get the deal done, the capital, the partners, everything else, as long as it's a good deal. And a lot of people are all about raising capital first. And I totally get that philosophy. We are a kind of a deal first approach, and we basically work with our investors on a deal by deal basis, obviously. And okay. So tell me a little bit about, like, if you could wave a magic wand right now, what the next deal for Jack looks like.
So, actually mentioned that because I just realized I did not answer one of your previous questions.
Oh, okay.
So that's kind of keen to be properties progressing. So start with a single family, went into small multifamily, right? And then went into slightly bigger multifamily, older assets. I remember my first deal, syndication deal, was 1968, 79 units, 1968. It fell apart, by the way. It was part of my, learning lesson. I lost money on that deal. None of my investors did, but I lost money as a sponsor. But anyway, from that first syndication deal, 79 units, I've been basically able to progress. And now the focus is 80 units, 80 built or newer, and 150 units or more, preferably 200 units or more. At one time, I was pushing for 200 units or more, but I figured out that, I'm leaving a lot of opportunities. So I decided, like, okay, I'll just do 150 units or more, but at least build 1980 or newer. I'm thinking 2020, depending on everything I'm doing, 2020, I might even push it to be 90s or newer. Based on some of the things I'm working on, I'm definitely expecting myself to just kind of continue to grow up on that food chain, right? So newer, bigger assets, less return, but definitely you get solid, reliable returns.
Yeah, absolutely. The higher class, you're talking, a solid Class B asset at least. And the if you get it, once you get into the Class B plus A range, you're, like you said, your returns are going to be lower, but it's going to be much more predictable, less volatile, less,
no doubt,
less mitigated situation to be in that higher class. So my heavy lift value add projects in Columbus, Ohio probably aren't very interesting to you then, huh?
Oh,
I kid, mostly. Put you on the spot. Yeah.
You put me on the spot, for sure. I remember after Utah, by the way, the first place after Utah I went to was actually Columbus. When I gave up on Utah, I didn't know it was a third place. So I started Idaho, looking to Utah, looking at Arizona, and then went to Ohio. And that's some good traction, Ohio. The last property I almost bought, I lost the money before I learned about syndication, was a 52 unit in Dayton, Ohio.
I knew you were going to say, for some reason, I knew you were going to say Dayton. Yeah. So I grew up 45 minutes from Dayton.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's
right.
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah.
Man. So you definitely can connect.
Yeah. And we're, as many of our listeners know, we're doing projects in Columbus right now, and we have 3 deals.
Columbus is a good market,
Yeah.
I feel like it's an island. It's like the only place.
Yep.
By the way, I like the blanket, like, right now I'm only focusing on the Sun Belt states, right? But, I know people like, for example, Rodcliffe is doing deals in Ohio. Kenny Wolf is doing deals in Ohio, and I know they're being successful. So sometimes the matter of having that strategic advantage over your competitors, like if you're a way of finding deals, because let's face it, sometimes people, would generalize, but there's certain parts of Ohio that, you can go, is growing, is vibrant, is everything. The market fundamental is strong, and, you can make the numbers work. Yep.
There's a few things you got to be. Property taxes are an issue there, but as long as you're underwriting well.
I remember that.
Yeah. You got to underwrite well for those, for sure.
No doubt.
Yeah. So 150 plus units, Southeast, 1990s, because you're changing your tune maybe a little bit in 2021.
Right.
And 1990s and newer. So right there, listeners, there you go. Go find Jack a deal in the Southeast somewhere, 150 plus units, 1990s or newer. And maybe if you find him something in the 80s, he might take a look at that too. But go, there you go. There's your in right there, right, Jack?
Exactly. You know, you find the deal, let's take it down. You know, I'm very hungry for those. You know, I think this year I can definitely assure you I'll be buying at least, you know, A-class assets this year. You know, just because of the, you know, the stuff I'm working on, and also you know, it's one of those things. You sow the seed and then you kind of reap it later on. So I tell you interesting thing. So, you know, about 4 years ago, I was going to Houston and I was trying to connect with every broker in Houston. And, you know, I made a lot of headwind. Of course, I was trying to make my name, so I couldn't get much traction. And now that, you know, I've made much traction, now that I've, you know, done deals in the market. Exactly. That'd be nice.
Now that everybody knows the name of Jack Aduwo.
Yeah, one day. Now, at least, you know, with the kind of leads I'm getting, you know, before I would underwrite every single that come across my desk, right? Because unless it does not meet certain criteria, for example, you know, crime rate or just the general place where it is. But I didn't care about the age. You know, I was like, yeah, you bring me 80 unit product built in the 50s. I mean, 80 units assets building in the 50s, I would go underwrite it. But of course, you know, the more you grow in the business, the more you kind of try to target. Because if I can get you an A-class, say, for example, you know, with 90% return, or a C-class with 100% return, I think a lot of people likely will consider the A-class because, you know, there's that certainty it comes with, right? You know, so it's not like the sponsor has to go and do a lot of deep value add to achieve on that. On my underwriting, I'm already being conservative, just for the record, but, you know, it's still good to, you know, get that asset whereby you don't have to do a lot in order to make the numbers work.
Yeah. So listeners, there you go. If you want to have a conversation with Mr. Aduwo about investing, his deals are 506B deals. So you need to be an accredited investor, and he's happy to give you all the resources and education that you need. So best way to reach you, Jack, through your website?
Yes. Yeah, so with it being 506B, just for the record, I always have 35 opportunity spots for sophisticated. All we have to do is just, you know, start building the relationship right now before the deals come along, right? So please connect. And with me, allow to share about real estate. You know, I think it's something I enjoy talking about. I'm very passionate about. And it's one of those things I can give back. You know, I would say no man is an island. I got to this level because somebody helped me, right? Somebody trained me. Somebody showed me this. Somebody was willing to talk to me about something I was not clear on. And the least I can do is give back in return. You know, I listen to Rod Cliff podcast a lot. He has a lot of those encouraging, you know, episodes that you always, you know, give. And, you know, one of the things you like to say is, for example, give in abundance and you'll get in abundance. And that's, you know, so true, right? Yeah. And so I'm just a believer in giving abundance. You know, when anybody reach out to me, you don't have to, I don't expect to get anything from you. Just reach out to me. Let's talk, let's chat. And if I can help you, at least, you know, that's enough to make me happy. You know, there's a lot to share around. There's, you know, limited. And when we do this as a team, everybody wins. And to me, it's all a matter of everybody winning than nobody winning.
Yeah, love it.
Yeah, but anyway, yeah, so my website, kindubeyproperties.com.
Yep.
That's the best way to reach me. or you can just call me my cell phone. I think this level I'm still fine giving my cell phone. So 818-635-4289. You can, if you go to my website, Kindle Bay Properties, there's an option to schedule a meeting with me, and you can just select a time slot and schedule a meeting with me, and I'd be glad to, talk to you about everything. If you are visiting Idaho, it's even better. I'll go buy you a coffee or something, whenever in Idaho or something. Yes.
I'll take you up on that for sure. On my way to Oregon from Salt Lake. Drive right by.
No, that'd be a nice stop over,
Yeah,
Yes, let's make it happen.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, just a few last questions to kind of round things out, Jack, just because I'm always fascinated kind of what makes everybody who they are and what makes you tick, particularly in the world of business and entrepreneurialism. Were there books or was there a specific book along the way that was particularly meaningful to you in your multifamily career specifically?
Yes, there's a number of books that are very valuable. I'm not going to talk about Rich Dad Poor Dad because everybody talks about that. So I think anybody who's listening to this episode knows about it.
For sure. Yeah.
Yeah. So I would say out of the Rich Dad Poor Dad, there's a lot of books related to it, like the ABCs or Multifamily Investing by Ken McElroy. I think that's a really, really good book for anybody who's trying to get into the business. I remember bought that when I was trying to, learn about syndication in apartment, and it's a really good, plain, simple, layman's term kind of explanation of this, and I would highly recommend it to anybody who's trying to get into the business. Garrett Sutton, he has a series of legal-related books. I highly, highly recommend listening to all of them. What I would recommend is getting an audiobook, through Amazon or something. And when you're driving, play Garrett Sutton. I love to do road trips. When I live in Utah, I used to come to Boise once a month to take care of my rental. By the way, I manage all my rentals while I live in Utah. It was quite crazy, but, I did it. Wow. So one thing I love about the trip was always it was a perfect timing for me to catch up on all those recordings. So it's not a wasted time. If you can get 5 hours driving, catching up on podcasts and audio recording, it makes it a very, very perfect timing, to be able to do that. A very productive trip, in other words.
Absolutely.
And so anyway, and then the book that I also highly recommend is Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. I find it to be very inspirational, really, really inspirational book, in my opinion. And I think anybody who's trying to, kind of be entrepreneurial, because the book is not real estate related, just, kind of basically a motivational book. Anybody who's trying to, really, really grow, I think they should really consider that book seriously.
Yep. I think it's the second podcast in a row. I think that one's come up. So Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich. Fantastic, classic book in the world of successful mindset.
No doubt.
What I would call a powerful mindset, for sure. So Jack, 5 years from now, when things go the way that they're going to go, because you're going to just crush it moving forward, I can tell. What does that look like? So 5 years from now, I would like to squeeze in the next 2 years, if I can deliver what I can do in 5 years. Because I feel like it took me a little longer to make traction. Part of the reason is because, in my opinion, was because, when you have a W-2 income, of course, you're limited on how quickly you can grow because you still have to, stay in the office. I remember one of the things I hated was, on a Wednesday there'll be, for example, some kind of IMN conference, for example, on a Wednesday that I would love to attend, and I can't attend because it's a weekday, right? So my goal, day one, is basically, be able to speed up things that, for example, was taking a little slow. So within the next 2 years, my 5-year goal, which I'm basically squeezing into 2-year goal, is to be able to get at least 5,000 units. That's my ultimate goal. And
So I'm going to try to really pound really hard. My goal this year. So right now, I'm about 1,300, give or take, and I'm pretty confident, very confident, because of the things I'm working on, that before summer, at least I'll be 1,800, from based on the things I'm working on. And so, which means, if I can at least get to 2,500, by end of the year, I think, I'll be able to achieve on that goal. It means, building a big team, a strong team, expanding on my team, my organization. I need to take time to try to build, more robust, online presence. I know I've not done a good job on that. I really need to do something about that. Bring in more, assistants, for example, virtual assistants. That's something I really need to work on so that I can be able to scale up real quick. Mm-hmm. So next 2 years, basically get it to 5,000 in the next 2 years. And then I know people have done it, so I'm not talking about something like, is impossible to do, right? I just need to learn, see how they did it, so I can try to do the same thing. Yeah. And then for the next 5 years, basically, if I can, my goal is to basically also be able to expand beyond just multifamily into other, investment space. I've been thinking a lot about international investment, especially, South America. I think there's some great opportunities. I've been kicking the can down, and it's really time to, really look into those and kind of diversify my portfolio. I know multifamily is kind of my bread and butter, right? But it was good to diversify into, other kind of investment assets.
Mm-hmm. That's exciting. Yeah. Super cool. And then just raising your beautiful family and enjoying Boise and hiking.
Absolutely.
And
spending more time with the family. Yes.
Entertaining with all your friends.
Yes. Yes. It was always interesting. I was always, when you have EW2, which I still do, I still have 1 more week to go. It's always one of those things, you work till 5 p.m. and then the business starts after 5 p.m. And sometimes I'll be having meetings right in the middle of family dinner time, and then going to bed at 1 a.m. because, you got to follow up with email with the investors and everything. So I'm looking forward to finally being able to spend more evenings with the family and spend more time with the family. Definitely, I think my success is nothing if I don't have a good quality family time or enjoy my hard work with the family. So definitely doing this is very key. I'm basically retiring from my corporate work, so I really need to be able to get some of that benefit of retiring from corporate work. And one of those is definitely enjoying time with the family.
Would you say that's a big part of your why, your family time?
Yes, definitely. Mm-hmm. Getting more time with the family is a big part of why. I remember a while ago, listening to this guy's podcast that had retired, and I remember him talking about, now he's able to, take his kids to school, and when they come from school, do homework with them and take them to soccer game. When you have a W-2, of course, you can't leave to go to soccer game every day with your kids. My kids are still young, but I'm hoping when they're old enough to be able to do those activities, I'll be able to join them and spend more time with them, because they're only young ones, and right. You only get to enjoy that time with them while they're young.
Right, no doubt.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, Jack, you've built. It seems like you built just an amazing, wonderful life for yourself, and congratulations again on your move to Boise, and in particular your quote unquote retirement. I don't really like that word, but you're and ending your W-2 corporate adventures and launching into the apartment space full time, and doing what you're good at and what you love to do, and and really, really excited for you. So
Yes.
it's great to have connected and kind of dug into some of these different topics. I think we got into some really valuable stuff, and really appreciate you coming on the show. So
Absolutely.
yeah,
Absolutely. Yes.
anything that you would say to an aspiring investor that's listening that is thinking about getting into apartments, what would be like the first thing you'd want them to know or think?
So somebody who's trying to get into the business, first of all, there's a lot of online resources you can do, and that's what I did. I think part of why it took me a little longer was because I was trying to add a single family mindset whereby I'm trying to do everything on my own, right? And there's a lot of online resources you can do, but as we indicated, more important than anything else is the teamwork. Attend some of those events. There's some good, mentorship program you can attend, that, can be of valuable. I recommend, they're pretty pricey, but in my opinion, if you want to be successful, you got to pay for it. Success doesn't come for free, So you got to be willing to, just do that. I just know that if you're willing to pay for them, because I know some of them are complete rip-off, you got to make sure that you do your due diligence in terms of vetting them to make sure that they'll be able to deliver. And once you pay, make sure that, you follow through, because, there's paying and then there's following through. And a lot of those, usually the successful one, they're going to charge you a ridiculous amount of money, but then it's still up to you to, make sure that, you follow up with them so that you can get the benefit out of it.
Yeah.
So there's all kind of different levels out there, but at least the first thing to do is start educating yourself. There's a lot of free online resources you can use.
Yeah.
And depending on what route you're going to, if you're trying to be a general partner or a limited partner, if you're a general partner, the brokers, we need to get on every broker's case. I tell you an interesting thing. One thing I used to do, I've not done it this year because I'm just so swamped with the leads. But one thing I used to do every year is at the beginning of this week, the first week of the year, I'll call every single broker on my list just to say, hey, remember me? I'm still looking for deals. Please let me know. Mm-hmm. And of course, I'll keep reaching out to them throughout the year. But it was a nice way to kind of reset, because sometimes you talk to a broker in June and you get caught up with other things, and they get caught up with things. And let's face it, you're not the only person trying to reach out to that broker. Several people are trying to reach out to them, especially when they're in a good market like Idaho and Utah, whereby there's a lot of demand. If you don't get on that broker's case, keep calling them, they're gonna forget about you. You're gonna be down on the list of people that they will first contact. But you always want to be the first person to contact when opportunity comes.
Yeah.
And so if you plan on being a general partner, definitely I would say brokers is the first thing, because unlike single family whereby you can go to MLS and find list of all single families, the same with the multi-family. Every brokers they on Rolodex of people that they'll reach out to when they have a deal, and their goal is to make sure you get on their list of actually the top priority, so that when they have a deal they bring it to you.
Yeah. And when they bring you a deal, make sure, listeners, that you are responding to them promptly.
No doubt.
Completely. If it's a deal that you're going to pass on, make sure that you tell them why. And I even offer to share my underwriting with them, to show them the amount of work that I've put into each deal. But make sure that you're really nurturing those relationships, because those are the ones that will call you back. The other thing that I would say to a newbie that's like looking at how do I start and that sort of thing is take Jack up on his offer to talk to you on the phone. And I'm happy to do that as well. You've got two resources right here that are available and eager to share and are eager to help. So take us up on that. And we love it when you do, I can assure you. So
Absolutely.
with that, Jack, I feel like we could go on for a long time and talk about a lot of different things. We'll have to make a ski thing happen here.
Yeah,
Hopefully
please.
even this winter, like it'd be great to do that. And
No doubt.
yeah,
No doubt. You
yeah.
know, I moved out of Utah, but I'm still going to be coming to a lot of Utah because I have a lot of investors based in Utah. And so I'll still see myself coming to Utah pretty often, you know, for business, you know. So I know, for example, next week I'm going to be in Salt Lake next week, but next week just, you know, to turn in my laptop and, you know, my badge and everything and, you know, to my old employer. But, you know, I'm planning on them still coming again, maybe by end of this month or early next month, just to follow up with, you know, my Utah investors. You know, I like to have a regular conversation and meeting with them.
Yeah, perfect. And then we've got our we've got our Salt Lake City multifamily meetup that you're always more than welcome to come to.
Yes,
in fact,
it's on Tuesday, right?
It's on the third Wednesday of the month.
Okay.
So I think this month I want to say is the 20th or the 19th. I think it's the 20th.
Okay.
And I'd love to have you on as a guest sometime too. We feature
definitely.
We feature high level.
That'll be more incentive for me. So yeah, let me know. Actually, next month, this month, you know, the third January, I'll be in the third week of January, and likely fourth week, I will be likely in Houston for due diligence. So
okay, cool.
So, but you know, next month, yes.
Sure. Okay. We'll be in touch. Well, Jack, thank you so much once again for hanging out with me today. This has been an awesome
thank you.
hangout.
More important, thank you for the opportunity. You know.
No, it's
I
been
love
my
it.
pleasure. My pleasure. Absolutely. Yes. We'll do it again. Maybe this time next year. We'll do a New Year's Jack Aduwo recap.
Where are we right now? Exactly. Right. I love that. All
right. All right, sir. Well, thank you, listeners, for listening once again to another episode of The Apartment Guys. We will see you next week. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks for listening to The Apartment Guys with Tate Seamer. Tate and friends are grateful to have you as a loyal listener. If you like what you've heard, please subscribe, rate, review, and share with friends on your Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Spotify, or any other podcast platform. Also, check out Tate's YouTube channel for videos of many of these episodes and more. Until next time, take massive action steps and rock on.